Jan Bando, and I'll be your moderator. I'll be your moderator for this session. So last week we had a session with both the mentors and the mentees, and I think it was well attended. We gathered some lessons on there. But today we've gotten another opportunity to learn again from a very great man who has volunteered to impart more knowledge into us, in-depth knowledge, given his years of experience in mentorship. And we reckon that, like myself, there are some people who are new to mentorship. So hopefully by the end of this session, we would have garnered some skills and learned something new that will help us in this mentorship program. I'll just like to take the opportunity to welcome everybody and also to acknowledge the leadership of the Career Guidance and Outreach Committee in the person of Derek Luce. You're welcome. And also to all our executives and leaders who have been able to join us. So just a couple of ground rules before we start. I think we've all muted our microphones, but we'll keep our microphones muted. And if you would like to speak, we would like to ask any questions, we just raise our hand or notify myself, or you can put it into the chat box and then I'll pick it up from there. I have the honor to introduce the speaker for today. He's a chartered senior professional in human resources with over 12 years of experience in HR, 12 years of HR experience. He's currently the HR manager of Ghana National Gas Company, and the deputy chair of Career Guidance and Outreach SPE Ghana. And he is in the person of Samuel Stephen Ni Lai Eje. We shall welcome him. Over to you, Mr. Eje. I'll give you the opportunity to share your screen.
Thank you very much, Akosia. And good afternoon, everyone. And good afternoon, my chair, Mr. Derek Luce.
Afternoon, Sam. It's nice to have you here today.
Okay, so we're going to start shortly. Immediately I'm able to share my screen, we would comment. But this is more or less a follow-up on what we had last week. Please, if at any point in time I am not heard, kindly let me know, but I'll come in the event that technology fails us, we'll come back on almost immediately. So this is a follow-up on last week's training that we had, or the session we had with Aliyah. And this is specifically for the mentors, for us to have a discussion on what to expect, especially for first-time mentors, and then to be able to ask questions that might arise. We can preempt some of the questions that our mentees will be asking us, and then we'll discuss and get appropriate answers, look at the period of the mentorship, look at what we are going to be able to cover within the period. Just as okay. I'm about to share now. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see yours now.
Okay, thank you. So let's start with some definitions, but I would want to make this as brief as possible and as practical as possible as well. So the mentorship program itself is a guidance provided by the mentor, you and I, who happen to be more experienced than the mentees. And we are guiding them to more or less lift or hold their hands and move them across a bridge. Unfortunately or fortunately, a mentorship program is not an unending program. It has a timeline, and there's a limit to what you can do within the timeline. And so you follow a sequence of events and try and give the pointers that will help the mentee to move now without you to the next level. But you would have set the ground rules, you would have given the person that information that is needed. So your experience is needed, your knowledge is needed, your skills are needed, your connections are needed, and that is what is passed on from one person who is the mentor to the mentee. It is a nurturing process, and we are supposed to serve as role models. We are supposed to serve as teachers. We are supposed to serve as sponsors. We are supposed to counsel. We are supposed to guide them as they navigate the road that we have already been. So the mentoring function is carried out within the context of an ongoing caring relationship. And we would be very particular about the words that we use. It's an ongoing caring relationship between the mentor and then the mentee. So the mentor is the one who supports and advises and guides a mentee. The mentee is the one who receives, just a second, advice. The mentee receives training. The mentor receives, the mentee receives guidance from a more experienced, a more skilled, a more knowledgeable person who is known as the mentor, who is both of us, you and I. I'm going to gloss over some of the slides because it's more or less something that Aliyah spoke about, but I'll just mention them in passing. So we outlined how the assistance of the mentee would be. We do not just leave it to chance. The mentor is supposed to be a positive role model, and the watchword is positive role model. The mentor aids the mentee in setting educational and career goals. Some of our mentees are in school. Some of them have just completed school. Some of them are doing their national service. Some of them are just started their careers. And so the work of the mentor is to guide them, is to help them to set their goals right. Next is to educate the mentees on their expectations within the workspace. And this would apply not only for those who are in school, but for those who maybe are on national service, or those who just completed national service and have started work, or those who are waiting to be employed. It is our duty to also encourage the mentees to build their self-confidence. And in the workplace, and in the world of work, you know that self-confidence is very important. And so it is our duty to do that. What it means is that we ourselves should be self-confident. We ourselves should know how to navigate the road before we are able to lead others to do the same. Then we are sharing applicable information about our backgrounds, our skills, and our interests. But all these are done in a guided manner. And so there are boundaries that are set for us, or there are boundaries that we would also want to set for ourselves, so that the process is well is well coordinated. Mentoring can further, and this is for us, what we are going to gain from this process, especially for first-time mentors. Mentoring can further our own development. Mentoring of feelings of alienation could be alleviated if there were more people like ourselves. And then we are nurturing talent. And the joy that we have after the mentoring relationship is when we get what we call the ROI, return on investment, where you meet your mentee and who has taken what you spoke about, what you guided them through, and have moved on and have become accomplished. That is the joy of mentorship. I reckon that a number of us have more than one mentee. What it means is that our time management must be very apt. Otherwise, I know we are all very busy people. We might end up spending a lot of time with the mentees to the neglect of our own work schedules and our individual other schedules that we have. So there are formal meetings and there are informal meetings between mentors and mentees. We need to be able to determine what the mentee will gain at the end of the mentoring session or at the end of the period of mentoring. And that is where we set our objectives. I will be sending out a form after it has been approved to all of us to guide set objectives to help us evaluate what work we'll be doing with the mentees. So we should ensure regular contact with our mentees. We should create a plan to achieve our goals as mentors, and then to also help the mentees to achieve their goals. And we must make the most of the opportunity they have to be mentored by us. The mentee should be receptive to feedback and coaching. I use the word coaching loosely. What it means is that we should also be ready and willing to give constructive feedback to our mentees. And this process will be done within our time schedule. So you, the mentor, determine meeting times. The meeting times are at your behest. And so make sure that there are times that you have the free time, quote and unquote, to meet your mentees. And I would also advise that usually your sessions should not exceed an hour. Your sessions with your mentees should not exceed an hour. What we are going to do with our mentees is that we are going to advise them on their career goals. We're going to find out what they do now currently, what they expect to do in the next couple of years or couple of months. We are going to give them increased exposure. We are going to help them to improve their skills and their knowledge. We are going to give them a bridge that they will pass on into maturity. We are going to provide opportunities and resources to them. We are going to encourage them. We are going to build their self-confidence. We are going to act as positive role models to them, to help them handle difficult situations that they might encounter. So, advising them, guiding them, helping them, supporting them is the goal that we have, or these are the goals that we have as mentors. And we must count ourselves privileged to have the opportunity to guide people, to advise people, to support them. And whilst counting ourselves fortunate, we also know that it's a great responsibility that these young ones have to receive from us. And so depending on how we give them the information, if they take everything we give them hook, line, and sinker, and we give them, like we would say in the Ghanaian parlance, apofi, then we are in big trouble, because they will carry the apofi and go on with the apofi and not be able to make it as we have done. So what the mentoring process is not. The mentee is not meant to complete your work as a mentor. The mentee is not meant to pay for the mentorship process. This is 100%, and I dare say 101% gratis, free, voluntary. You can add more adjectives or synonyms to it. The mentee is not meant to boost our egos as mentors. Please, let's keep our egos intact. And the mentee is not meant to be disciplined or penalized by the mentor. The mentor is to guide, is to advise, is to support. The mentor is also not meant to make decisions for the mentee. You point them out. You act as a, for want of a composite word, I would say a consultant. So we tell you what we have been through, what it will lead to or it may lead to, and then we leave the decision making for them to do. The mentor is not supposed to finish coursework or projects or labs, etc. for the mentee. If the mentee has a project at hand, you guide them on what to do, but not do it for them. The mentor is not meant to provide the mentee with a job. The mentor is not meant to provide the mentee with a job. with my work as an HR person, anytime I get a mentee, I'm sure that one of the first things the mentee is looking out for, hey, wow, I'm with an HR person, I must get a job. That is not the mentoring process. And the mentor is not supposed to provide therapy or counseling services. Please leave that to the other professionals. And if you're a professional in that, leave that to after the mentoring process, ethically, the counselors do not call for counselees. It's the other way around. So we've already done this. I'm sure that once we are setting objectives, we know that these objectives are supposed to be SMART objectives, and they are supposed to be specific, they are supposed to be measurable, they are supposed to be attainable, they are supposed to be relevant, and we are definitely doing this within a time frame, and that is very important. So what does successful mentorship entail? So, and it's two-way. What does success look like for you, and what does success look like for the mentee? What are the rules and boundaries of the mentorship? And Aliyah spoke about some of these. What are some of the activities you would like to be involved in? And these are all things that will be written down. And what is the approach for the mentorship? So what approach are we going to adopt for the mentorship process? And these are questions that we'll be answering briefly. So we want to give a few tips for successful mentorship. We want the mentors to keep an active line of communication. And here, whether we are communicating by a phone call, whether we are communicating by face-to-face meetings, whether we are communicating by emails, whether we are communicating by WhatsApp or Telegram, let's have an active line of communication. And then, very, very important, let's maintain a schedule. If you do not have a schedule, what happens is that there's going to be a haphazard way of doing this, and you will not be able to achieve much once you don't have a schedule. Have a schedule, know what you are doing for month 1, know what you are doing for month 2, know what you are doing for month 3. Let us follow a schedule. Otherwise, it will be haphazard and you will not achieve much. Your mentees will not achieve much. You would have done a lot of meetings with them, but the achievements will be little. Share your personal goals, and this goes to both the mentor and mentee. Prepare and review before every assignment has been given to you. Before you meet, you have the next meeting, please review the assignment and prepare for the meeting. Do not assume that, oh, this person is a protege. I know better than the person. Yes, we know that you know better than the person. But do not go to any meeting unprepared. The mentees are to be respected, and note that respect is mutual and it is a two-way street. You give it and you receive it. Be flexible in your thinking. Please let us avoid prejudices. Be flexible in our thinking, and then, SPE, we believe in D&I. And so let it reflect in our mentorship process. We are to serve as role models to them, and we are to make time for constructive feedback. We are to make time for constructive feedback. Then we want to look at some potential challenges that we might have during the mentoring process. We know that most mentors are very busy and quite busy. And that is why we need to be able to have schedules. Otherwise, there might not be a time we'll be able to meet our mentees. And note that because you're having 2 or 3 mentees, if you do not apportion your time well, you might run into issues. Please don't put the mentees together. If you put them on a platform, it should only be because you pass on maybe scheduled information to them, but not for the mentoring process. Please, let me repeat. If I have 2 mentees and I decide to put them on a, let's say, a WhatsApp platform, so all of us are on that WhatsApp platform, it should just be for scheduled information sharing, but not for the mentoring process. The mentoring process is supposed to be one-on-one. And then we also note that there are mentees who, so let's say I have a mentee who is an engineer. I am not an engineer. Let's look at what the person wants to achieve within the process. Usually guidance does not necessarily mean that you are in the same field, but it helps if you are in the same field of endeavor. But once you are guiding, you are helping, you are giving, you might not be able to give the specific, maybe knowledge, expertise kind of a thing, but then these are all management processes, and so you'll be able to guide the mentees well. And please, we want to guard against unrealistic expectations. That's why we would want you to write down expectations. We want the mentees to also write down their expectations. And then we want to see how success looks like, I mentioned. And obviously, once you are looking at how success looks like, the other is also true, how failure also looks like. And then what we want to do is, we don't want a mentee to over depend on a mentor, and vice versa also holds true. Do not manipulate your mentees, and don't let them feel inferior. Let them feel welcome. Let them feel they can come to you, ask the questions, and they will not be ridiculed. Very, very important. We should let them feel that way. The process is going to last for 6 months formally, and we expect that we would have 2 sessions, two formal sessions every month. And I'm going to propose what we would be doing within the 6 months. And because there is a lot of confidentiality amongst what we do, we would also want to have an agreement signed by both mentor and mentee, so that we do not divulge information that should not be divulged, and vice with the mentees as well. And so the period is 6 months. Anything apart from after the 6 months, what usually happens is that you might have developed a certain relationship with this person, that the person can pick a phone and call you at some point in time if they need some information or help or guidance, and you can also call to check up on them and all that, and find out how they are faring with their own process itself. Formal mentoring process will not last more than 6 months. So starting the mentoring mentorship program, we have, I'm sure that all mentors have received a mail highlighting who their mentees are, and giving them the contacts of the mentees to the mentors. And same was done also for us mentors. The mentees received a mail highlighting our contacts and who we are. Now, mentees will have to submit a career development plan, and we'll be sharing some information after this session to guide them on how to send or what to write. And then, so it's either career development or academic plan for those who are still in school, if you have someone who is in first year or second year. And then we need, after the plan, we both will sign. And then we are to review the career development plan during our first meeting. We need to set communication and meeting guidelines, i.e. frequency of meeting, the communication tools, and I spoke about the face-to-face meeting, the emails, the WhatsApps, the Telegram. I mean, however we decide to do our meetings. But if it is possible, I will plead that if it is possible, we should have at least one face-to-face meeting with our mentees before the 6-month session runs out. So that is a plea. Then we set guidelines for discussion of sensitive topics. So our first meeting, we should have these in place. So we should have given them the career, and I reckon that some of us, we have already started meeting our mentees and we have not done the career development plan, which is fine. What we would send out will just be to formalize the process, and it's not the cast in stone thing. So I have a proposed program timeline and outline. So what we'll be doing and I'll send this out. So indeed, I'll send out the whole presentation, so to guide us. So usually I propose 2 sessions or 2 formal sessions in a month. And for every session, we would have to give a certain form of assignment. And so we know who our mentees are. We should be able to guide, we should be able to know what their CPDs, development plans are, and then know how to structure assignments for them. And then we set timelines for them to bring the assignments, as well as also for us to review and discuss same. I'm sure that the team that is handling the mentorship program, if you look at the last line, I'm sure that we'll be able to review the process, and if we have a solid review, we might decide to give certificates or award certificates to mentees after the process. I think that would be a nice thing if we are able to do. So 6 months broken into sessions of 2 sessions every month, and then with feedback, attendance feedback. Okay, so I'd want to read this verbatim. The mentor takes the mentee under his or her wings, invites the protege into a new occupational world, shows the protege around, imparts wisdom, cares, sponsors, criticizes, and bestows their blessing. The teaching and the sponsoring have their values, but the blessing is the most crucial, or is a very crucial element. Okay, so with that, I would pause for questions from us. If we have any questions, Akosia, maybe you could take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. J. So if there are any questions,
Akosia,
please
Akosia, sorry to rudely interrupt. Please kindly refer to me as Sam. I believe in the first name.
Sure, Sam.
Thank you. Great.
Okay. Please, it's time for questions and answers. If there are any questions, please unmute your microphone and then you can ask the question, or you can type it in the chat box and I would read it aloud.
Okay, I'll start first. So for someone who has been doing it for a bit now, one of the most difficult things I found, which usually has to get to a point where it has to be done, but for the purposes of everyone, and from a professional like you, Sam, once this 6 months mentorship period is done, I know some people are volunteering to do it. And after that period, some people might definitely not want to continue the relationship from that point. But obviously, because of the good work that they do, some of the mentees want to stick around and things like that. In your professional opinion, how would you end a relationship like that professionally from that point?
Sorry, Derek, the last part of your question, I didn't get. Can you please repeat?
Okay, so which part did you get so that I don't repeat myself? So I tell you exactly.
Okay, I got your preamble.
Okay, so my question is more on professionally, how do you end it? Because there are some people who do it not because they want to, and it's not something that they probably enjoy, but they just want to have a go at it for the first time. So after a while, they figured out that, oh, it's not something I really want to do. So professionally, not, you know how everybody's different, but professionally, in your opinion and that's your experience, how will you nicely professionally end a mentorship relationship after the period? For instance, in our case, where it's 6 months, some of us have been doing it for a very long time now, and we still have people around. Even after a while, if you do a good job, it's difficult to break away from people. So from people who cannot keep long-term relationships and stuff like that, how would you professionally advise them to end mentorship relationship? Because it could turn bad sometimes, but what in your opinion, how would you handle something like that?
Okay, thanks, Derek. In my opinion, usually there should be a closeout session, and that's why both mentor and mentee should have a schedule, and we know what we are doing in month 1, month 2, month 3, and I mean to the end. So the last session should be a closeout session. And you are right, Derek. If we do not take our time, this can linger on, and sometimes as well. Let's not look only at the positive side, like you mentioned. There are also negatives where there are times where mentors and mentees fall out, and that can be very messy. And that's why I will advise that we follow as usually documented, and it helps both mentor and mentee throughout the process. We all know that it's a 6 months session or program, and at the end of the session, we'll have a close out session. We would evaluate what we have done. So if we look at what I'm displaying on the screen now, in the 6th month, we would want to have an exit survey and feedback session. And this should be for both mentor and mentee. So you want to ease it off like that. If for some reason the relationship cannot last for the period, we still would want to respectfully ask for that exit survey or feedback session to formally end the process. I am sure that the coordinators of the mentorship program should also be known by the mentees, so that if there are any things that they would want to talk about, they have any reservations, they can also channel same to them for redress. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Sam. Please, are there any other questions? Okay, I think I'll ask a question. So in your years of experience, have there been any time where you had a negative experience with a mentee, and how did you go about it? If you can just share an experience of what happened and how you were able to handle it, or if other people who have also been in the program for a while can also share their experiences.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure Derek will be on standby to add on. I'm sure you would have had some negative experiences. So I think my first experience with mentorship, I was handed over 2 mentees, and this was purely HR based. And we're supposed to have a face-to-face meeting. The first meeting was supposed to be a face-to-face meeting. One turned up, the other didn't turn up. So we're given in that session, the first meeting was when we're told who our mentees were. So immediately you get the person's phone contact, and you want to reach out, and you call this guy, and the guy goes like, what's his name? Hey, is that so? But so who am I speaking in the process? And this guy, it was interesting. The guy said, "Oh, sorry, yes, I know." And that is more like setting off on that. And I think that what happened after that, so I called him. He now sort of thought that he had a bad experience with the first session. And so that was the kind of idea I was going to have about him. So he was more or less a timid, coming up as a timid person, who he was not actually. So I had to do some work in trying to let him know that, hey, I mean, in this time and era where there are fraudsters and everything, people can come across as trying to be your, get your number and play games. And so I understand what happened and all that, and don't take it to heart. I'm not taking it to heart, and we can move it on the process. And that was him. But we had a very fruitful program thereafter. But I have heard of instances where the program started, and then some mentees inappropriate relationships. So they think the mentor is trying to hit on them. Maybe it is possible that it could have been the case, but we didn't have enough information, so we just leave it as they think, and so they just left the process hanging, and they didn't gain much. I've also heard of instances where worth is while. They start the process, the mentee is not forthcoming with the projects, like, or questions, or coming up with assignments. Assignments are given, no, he doesn't do it, or he does it haphazardly because he thinks the mentor will come and guide him and everything. And so the mentor goes like, you know what, I think I have something better to do with my time. can we end the process? So these are a few that I can talk about. Maybe Derek will add a couple.
Yes, I would share just one. So for a very long time, I stayed away from mentoring females. And when you mentioned that topic about the inappropriate things that happened and reason why people choose certain reasons not to mentor certain people, it's because of that. Because it's something I'm very passionate about. I've seen how important it is to guide someone through their stage of uncertainty and get them to be able to figure things out for themselves. And it's exciting and how much you can see how much they can actually live up to if you guide them properly. So it's something I was very passionate about. So usually I started mentoring a few guys and then a few females as well. But for some strange reason, the relationship with the guys were very professional, obviously, because they would call you, they'll interact with you. They never call you at like they always call you at good times. There was never something like bad about it. It was just weird. But then for the female side, because when you are mentoring people, you tend to give them your good side. So you're always nicer than usual. You tend to have a much more pleasant relationship with them because you're trying to impact them. You're not trying to change them or anything in a way that is, you're always trying to be the best version of yourself for them. So for an unmatured mind, it would come off as, oh, the person likes me. Oh, the person starts having such weird thoughts in their head. So how it starts off with is usually, I liked what you said at the beginning of your presentation. You are not their psychologist, neither are you their shrinks. So then it goes into a stage where you now start having to have discussions about their relationship issues and their personal issues, and it's difficult as a mentor to know that someone who has a problem and you can help and you don't want to help. So I noticed they became pretty much rampant, especially with the ladies. So I said, listen, no, I need to draw a line. So as Sam said, I drew up a plan. This is the plan. We meet once or twice a month. These are the times we call each other. It's only by text. You call me when it's urgent. If it's nothing related to the mentorship, there's no calls and stuff like that. But because you've built certain relationship with the people, they think they can still go beyond that bit. So you start getting calls at all times and people are crying on the phone because they have issues and stuff like that. And it was quite uncomfortable because if someone is having a problem as a grown-up, you will talk to the person. It was difficult. So after I ended that period of mentorship with them, I vouched to myself never to. So for a very long time, I never did. So if I get a request from a female for a mentorship, I hand them over to my female friends and go like, listen, oh, this person is there. Do you think you can guide this person and all that? Then I just stayed away from it. And I started assessing myself and to see whether I also played a part in it. And yes, I did because I grew up with girls. So I'm used to having good relationship with women, but professionally in that way, but people always see it differently. So as a mentor, is your duty to try and initially at the early stages of the mentorship program, define clearly what is there to be done and set the ground rules, and don't break the ground rules as yourself, because you have no idea the amount of influence you have in the lives of these people that you are telling things or you are sharing things with. Some it sticks with them years down the line. I've seen people make it and do all sorts of things and they call you out of the blue. Oh, Mr. Derek, I'm glad you told me this at this time. I know you don't remember, and actually I really don't, but it helps. So that's how powerful we can be. So it's just recently that we've opened up that bit where we started mentoring young people, but in a very structured way. So I personally do have a structured program that I usually put them through. And after a year, I do the exit breakaway with them. Some is difficult too, because you can see how these things go. So yeah, that's a bad experience and why I stayed away from mentoring females. But things have changed now. People are much more matured and open to certain things, but it doesn't say it's not possible. It could happen again. So as mentors, let's keep a good focus on that. Some of them, I understand it won't be your fault, but that's just how humans are. So be mindful of the people you interact with and set the ground rules very early before anything gets out of hand. But if you are facing any issues during the process that is difficult to deal with, you can speak to any of us. If you don't feel comfortable speaking to any of us, speak to a professional friend of yours who is older and who can guide you in ways like that. So yeah, that's what I have to say from my side. So, but now it's changed. I've decided to start taking them back again. So
Okay, thank you. Interesting and insightful submissions. Okay, so I'll take one question in the chat box, then Dorothy will come in. It says, as a first-time mentor, is it advisable to outsource a mentee with a different area of interest as mine to someone I know who has the technical expertise just for the technical and knowledge sharing benefit, but personally fully follow through all the guidance and development needs required for the mentee? Sam, if you got that.
So, sorry, Akusia, I think I missed the first part of the question. So if you can.
Says, is it advisable to outsource a mentee with a different area of interest as mine to someone I know who has the technical expertise just for the technical and knowledge sharing benefits and personally follow through the guidance required for the mentee?
I would say a yes and a no. Usually, if you are outsourcing, then outsource everything. Let the mentee have a reference point. So the reference point being one person to go to, whether for technical or for managerial or for soft skills or whatever it is. You do that because you don't want to also confuse. There can be an outsourcing if you realize that the career goal or the developmental goals of the mentee is skewed towards a particular area, and you know that you should know yourself, right? So you know that this person has the right expertise to help this person better, and you have spoken with that other person who is the other mentor, and he or she has agreed to carry on. You have that discussion with the mentee, and then you can do the outsourcing, which is, fully rather than partially.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Dorothy has a question. Dorothy, if you can go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you very much, Akusia. Sam, so I'm asking this for myself and then on behalf of the first-time mentors. So how do you handle a mentee that is not forthcoming, that is not being responsive to you as you go along the program? As you go along this program, how do you deal with that in a professional way? Thank you.
Okay, so the mentorship willing people, and two willing people, the mentor and the mentee. Now, I'm sure that once you have your first meetings or you have your initial meetings, you agree on modes of communication and all. And if you put down the what is going to happen, the process of what's going to happen within the session, again, you are the mentor is a busy person, right? And you cannot spend all your time on a mentee. I am sure that for those who do mentoring very regularly, you might have a couple of mentees already before the SPE mentees, and it's taking time off to be able to guide and to help. So once you set the communication ground rules and you also set the CPD, what is supposed to be received, what's supposed to be given, the time that is supposed to happen. What you do is that I believe that, like the Ghanaians will say, you can give the benefit of the doubt, although I know doubt has no benefit. If there's one tweak or there's one miss, that can be handled. But then if it becomes a continuous miss, then you realize that this person is not ready to be mentored. You are the one to pose the question to find out whether there is something that is hindering the person from carrying on with the process. If even with that question you do not get a response, then you can know that the mentorship program for you and that person has ended. What you do is that you document these things so that it is not as though you abruptly ended the session. And so you have, for example, I have Kwame. I have gotten in touch with Kwame. I have agreed that we should be getting in touch with by WhatsApp. We have agreed on that. I gave an assignment. Kwame didn't bring the assignment on time, or I'm not even hearing from him. Hi, Kwame, how are you doing? And I mean, dead end and all that. After a time, I'll go back to Kwame and say, Kwame, is there a problem? Is there a reason why you're not able to get back to me? Kindly let me know so that we can reschedule. If you are not getting information from Kwame, you then go the next level and say that, Kwame, it looks as though you are busy or you are not able to make time for this process. And so I will humbly ask that we end the process from here. If you do not get any response, or if you get a response, that then becomes documented, and then the process either ends or is tenable, and then the process then can either continue from there or truncate from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I hope that answers your question, Dorothy. Are there any other questions? Okay. The next, yeah, already 3 minutes past time. I'll just hand over to Derek to give us any closing remarks, then we shall close out the meeting. Derek, over to you.
Thank you, Akosia. Thank you, Sam. This was excellent. There was a few points I personally didn't know, and I've been doing this for a while, so it was very good for you to point it out and all that. So I'm very glad. Very good presentation, taking your time to walk us through every stage of it step by step. Good for the new mentors who are doing it for the first time. It's a very exciting process. If it's something that you're very passionate about, you're going to enjoy it. It involves a lot of impacting people and changing people's lives along the way. It's really something very exciting. So for the next 6 months, let's see how best we can guide the people we've been given, and let's give them the best that we can. Let's try and follow the processes that have been outlined out there by some. If you have any concerns or any issues along the line, speak to any of us. Akosia is the subcommittee lead on this mentorship program. So if you're having any technical issues or you're having any change of mind on this mentorship, or you want to change your mentor, you actually do have someone that you want to add up to your group of people that you have, just reach out to her and then let her sort you out in that way. So it's 6 months for us. It's something that would continue long term. This is the first time. So there's going to be a lot of learning processes for us. So please try and document everything that you are doing and then share that with us as well, so that we can also use it to improve the program going into the future for other people that will take over from us. So thank you very much for taking out your time and then joining us here. The other people are also going to listen to this presentation later on, would also get a lot to learn from it. Just talk to any of us if you have any questions or anything like that. And let's make this a success. First time we're doing this in Ghana. We're going to make a lot of mistakes along the line, but let's not be afraid to do that. But let's document it and share this information with any of us so we can help improve the process as we go along. So, and we also need more mentors to come in. So we need a lot of people, because we do have quite a lot of mentees who are sitting on standby list, but we couldn't feed them with the mentors because we don't have as many as we would have expected. So speak to your friends who are interested in it. And as Riverson will say, this is not just for SPE, this is for everybody. But if SPE is the flagship leader on this, we would take it, but would want to spread our wings across and reach as much people as we can. So that's it from my side. Thank you guys very much. Akosia, Dorothy, thank you for putting this together. Sam, brilliant presentation. Thank you for taking time out of your day to walk us through this. I really enjoyed it because there was a few things I did not know myself, and I was glad to have learned them today. So thank you guys. And for everyone who also joined us, thank you very much. 1 hour seemed like 2 minutes because it was a good session, and we really appreciate you staying throughout to listen to everything from this side. So I can see our bosses around. Riverson, do you have something to say before we shut down?
Adam and Sam, thank you so much. Just like you said, 1 hour is 2 minutes, even though even seconds, because it was a good time. And I was just sitting here laughing because I had my first engagement with my people today, and it's exactly what I did. Even though I didn't know this, today was like more or less that get their goals and objectives in life, in their career. Not just because I've done mentorship programs for years, but everything Sam said with that's practical. And thank you so much, Sam. Thank you so much, Adam, Luce, for making this happen. You have no idea how much pressure we are giving to other SP sessions. I had a call with the Mozambique and Senegal chairs today, and they really want to learn from us because we are more or less a chapter or a session that has springed up all of a sudden, and we are competing with the giants. And it's no wonder why our name was mentioned, even though we received no award last year at ATC. And I believe that is because of people like you that we have in our session. I want to thank all the mentors here, Seth Ajuri, David Foucault, Joseph, Dory, Martin, Michael, my own Michael Miracle, and Samuel for making this happen. Yes, people have contacted me to be mentors. All right, I've just tested you, Derek. I've just tested you, one of the names. I normally would groom the people, understand how much time they have to volunteer before I bring them on, and even the content. We just don't want to have mentors with no content. So we believe in giving them the maximum knowledge and experience that they need to have. And believe me, my meeting with my mentees today was awesome. It was just for 30 minutes, but it was unbelievable. I wish you guys all the best. Please reach out to Samuel or Derek, or let me say the mentorship committee if you need help. And I believe they are really, really equipped to make this program work. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Riverson. Okay, Akosia, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Derek. Thank you, Riverson. So we'll bring this meeting to a close. I'll share the recorded session on the various pages, and if there are any other communications, we would put them as well on our various pages. I want to also say a big thank you to the mentorship subcommittee, I think Derek has already mentioned, who helped to put this together. Thank you and have a very nice weekend. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.